Hello world. It is a Sunday afternoon. It is intensely hot outside. We got the husband out there on the tractor. You'll probably hear him in the background. So I figured I'd hole up inside where it's cool. I'm going to be painting an ocean picture today. And there's my palette. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet with the white to mix it with. I always remember Roy G. Biv, and that's usually how I line my paints out too. I don't have any recommendations for paints. I just use whatever I have handy. And I'm going to be using predominantly 5 paintbrushes. Like I always say, my big, my medium, my script liner. And then I'm going to add a fan brush. And this one I call a scruffy brush. It's more for stippling. Like if you're a girl who puts on makeup, you stipple your makeup on in the morning. So that's it. Alright, our window today was a special request by a young lady named Jennifer, and she met her husband, I think it was 15 years ago, at the ocean, of all places, on vacation. And so he is about to retire, and she wants to paint an ocean picture in honor of their anniversary and give it to him. So I have an old window, and we're actually painting the back side first, and we're going to do reverse painting and then flip it over and do the front. So we're going to do the sunset, and like I said, Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. I like to say that. So I'll double load my brush in the red and the orange, and just kind of, you don't have to be careful on this. Just slap it on there, and then any paint that we get on the window panes itself, we're just going to repaint white. So we're going to start with a little bit of red, and it's going to be, I'm hoping it will be a little bit transparent, because I'm actually going to flip it over and paint on the front side as well. So don't worry about the streaks. Be very forgiving. Enjoy it. That's what I say. Just enjoy it. We're going to get this back side done, and it shouldn't take too awful long. If you wanted to get a bigger brush, you could. I just personally hate cleaning my paintbrushes. I'm terrible about that. My mom's always gotten on to me when I was a kid about using her paintbrushes and leaving them, which is so crappy to do. But anyway, as an adult, I try to take care of my stuff a little bit better. But yeah, I really don't like washing my brushes too much. That's really bad for them. So I go through quite a bit. Okay, so we got the red dabbed on there. We're just going to move on down. It doesn't need to be uniform. In fact, the less uniform, the better. We're going to add some orange. And you're just trying to think in your mind, when you look out in the evening after you come home and everything's done, all your chores, you got supper, and you go sit out on your front porch, swing for a little while, and you look across that pasture out to the north, what do you see? Well, I'm lucky enough I see a sunset, and I love it. It's one of the highlights of my night. And I remember thinking, I wonder if it's the same every night, or if he changes it up, talking about the good Lord. I think he changes it every night. I think whatever the Lord's mood is that night, that's how he paints the sunset. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to step it on. This is just the base coat. I'm going to go from the orange and transition into the yellow. There's a mark here on this window on the front side of it that you can see. It looks like at one time it had gotten a spray paint on it, and that's fine. We are going to embrace it and just paint over it on the other side. We'll turn that probably into a palm tree, I would imagine. So this shouldn't take too awful long. When you're doing a reverse painting, you have to think a couple of steps ahead, and that until you get a couple of projects under your belt, you're gonna mess up. So just get ready. I think a lot of parts in life is the mess up. You get to learn from it. Well, that's been my experience. All right, but you learn, right? Just as long as you learn something. That's pretty. Okay, I don't even dip my brush in the water. I just keep the paint on it. I think it might end up muddy after a while, but for the most part, I like it to blend with a dry brush when you're painting on glass. It tends to help it out a little bit. And I don't know if you know this or not, but every window, well, if it's painted on glass, painted on canvas, regardless, painted on wood, whatever my medium I'm painting with, whether it be acrylic or enamel paint, glass paint, and whatever my subject is, I always seal it with the sealer at the end. So I definitely want to make sure that we get all the paint sealed at the end. That way, if you want to put it outside, you can. If you want to hang it in your kids' room and they're messy, you can. It's just a little added bonus for my customers. Okay, I'm gonna let that first little bit dry, and then I'm gonna start moving down into the blues. Finish out my sunset, and then we're gonna have to do a land line for the ocean. I didn't go into too many details about Jennifer and her husband. I don't really know him. I know his name is Jeff, and I know he is hilarious. My favorite qualities in people. I love a good sense of humor, and he is gifted with that. He has a gift of gab. She's a little bit more on the quiet and reserved side, and I appreciate so much about her. She's been a customer for about 3 years. I had a craft show at this resort in Oklahoma, and it's called Fin and Feather, and it's an arts and crafts festival. And she came in, and I had a shipwreck window that she bought for her kid's bedroom. Well, I think it was her grandkid's bedroom. Anyway, and she loved it. She absolutely loved it. She came back the next year, and she bought a window that I had that was a Christmas window. And then last year she bought a window again. And so I was like, you know, I really so much appreciate her loyalty. And she even come up with ideas herself on this one. So I think this one, for their anniversary and for who she is, I think I'm just going to gift it to her. I think that's a well-earned gift. I appreciate my customers who come back. And what is that called? Flattery. Flattery will get you everywhere. She always has the nicest things to say, so why not? Okay, that is drying pretty dark, and I like it. That's going to be a good transition. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. And we're gonna try and visualize where the water line will be. So what I'm doing is washing out my big brush and preparing for a water line. You never want to have your whole picture just be broken in half. You want to do like thirds. It makes it more interesting if you break it up. Halves just seems to me to be like a little bit too uniform, and I don't like that. So we're going to take the light blue and the white and start blending it out and seeing if we can't create a line where the ocean might be, which I'm going to say nothing in nature is straight. So we're just going to put a little curved line on there just as a placeholder or a marker or place marker. All right. Go back over it a little. That's where the horizon meets the ocean line. And this is all going to be in the background, way in the distance. So I wouldn't get too touchy on its perfection. And then down on the bottom, we're going to end up with some land. All right. I guess Jennifer and Jeffrey are, I don't know the details specifically, but she did say that they had met while their families were on vacation, and I'm pretty sure they had both been married before, but I think one of them had passed on. But anyway, it sounded like a movie to me, like a Hallmark movie. It was amazing. Their details were kind of personal, so I'm going to leave it off of this video, but just know it was pretty much love at first sight. And you know what? I do believe in love at first sight. I met my husband and had lightning in a bottle with him. So I'm here to tell you, it will happen. It does happen. And when you least expect it, that's what they say, that's the truth. You just go out there and live your best life, and that love will find you. All right, enough of that. So this is going to kind of drag down and disappear into some of the land anyway, so we're going to leave it kind of faint. That's going to be for the water. All right, now I'm going to take some light brown and get a base coat of the land for the sand, the sandy beach. That way we can nest our little palm trees in it. I'm actually terrified of the ocean. Oh, hell, I don't know. I've never been. I'm a lake girl, and the older I get, the more I'm even scared of getting in the lake sometimes. Me and my husband will go fishing, and I'm just hoping to God, and we go duck hunting. We had a duck hunting business for a while, and my job was to break ice before we started training labs, and I can't see what's under there. Our lakes in Oklahoma aren't that clear, and it just terrifies me. Absolutely terrifies me. But my husband Bill says that ignorance is bliss. He said if you really knew what was in there, because he's telling me about, he'll go noodling, which is fishing by hand, which he doesn't do that anymore, but he used to, and oh my God, the war stories, the horror stories. Ugh. I would never, ever try that. Well, never say never. I have caught a couple of snakes on my line and had to cut those. A couple of snapping turtles. A couple of red-eared slider turtles. Those are harmless, though. In fact, we have a couple of those in our koi pond right now. Okay. All right, that is the first layer. Okay, let's see. Well, I flipped the window over. This is the back side of it. The other side has dried, this is the front side of it. And we're going to use a couple of placeholders that I drew on here. This is where the sun goes. This is where a palm fronds is going to go to cover up that black spray paint mark. And then just a couple of low-lying heels to get into the land. She did specifically say she wanted 2 points of interest, which was the beach, the beach, palm trees, and we're kicking around the idea of a sign. We'll come back to that later. I might send the ongoing process to the client and see how she feels about it. Anyway, all right. So I'm pretty happy with it. It's pretty. It's definitely bright. She wanted vibrant. I think they reside in Florida together, so this should fit in with the Floridian lifestyle, that's for sure. Okay, so let's start with, we're going to do, I told you last time about background, middle ground, and foreground. Well, we're going to touch on that with these rolling heels. We're going to do the background and then build up. But I also want to talk this time about tone and value. Tone and value is basically talking about your deepness and richness of your colors, placement. It's what adds interest to your pictures. So when you have an object that's far away, we're going to pick up some gray. It's going to be a little bit lighter in the back, and then the closer it gets, usually it gets darker. So we're going to start some rolling heels in the back, just a little bit of a landscape. Finish it on through. A little bit of gray just to break it up. And sometimes a lot of people will even paint them blues. I have enough blue. The frame is blue on the window pane, so I'm going to try and break it up with a little bit of grays and mix the tonality in there. We're adding a little bit of shading for depth. Brushing it out a little bit. The flowers that I've taught you, those have a rhyme and rhythm. Once you learn how to do it, it's like playing piano, like you can do it. This is a little bit more artistic freedom. Therefore, sometimes I find it to be a little bit more challenging doing a landscape freestyle, but I really do like it a little bit better. The flowers, it almost seems like algebra to me. Once you get the formula down, you can just repeat it every time and it'll come out. This is a little bit more willy-nilly and then a little bit more, speaks more to your creative side, and I really like that better. All right. So that's going to dry for a little bit. And then we're going to bring up some browns, like a deep dark brown. Make it a little muddy. We're going to add some more rolling hills here in the front, in the foreground. I use a Sharpie or a paint marker quite often. Sometimes I'll go back and use it at the end for detailing. I definitely use it for place holding. I like to visualize where my painting's going to be. In fact, sometimes I'll even sketch it out. And well, on this I had a little bit of a specifics wish list from the client, so I kind of needed to sketch it out a little bit. But them paint pens come in handy. Definitely would invest in a good black one, a good white one, possibly even a gray one. Alright, so there's our land. We're going to make it sparse because we're going to add grasses and a little bit of a beachy area right there. Alright, carry it on over to the next one. I don't just paint on old windows, but I really am liking this for this subject matter. I really like it for the beach. It looks like hopefully a view that, like she said, she had from their hotel room. So I was happy to oblige. Painting that in a little. Okay. All right. Now we're going to get a stipple brush, which is a pouncy brush. You can basically pick up your paint and push it in there. I like to get a dry paint and then push it onto a dry paper towel. Even on the palm of my hand, I like to show, you know, if it's going to blend well. I like that one. We're going to pounce that on. With glass, it's forgiving. If you make a mistake, you can certainly wipe it off quickly. But it's also, it shows every single stroke. Canvases, you can hide the strokes. Alright, just making a little bit of sand. It's very subtle. We don't need a lot, just enough to make an impression of it. Or to trick the eye. There's a saying, a term in painting called trompe l'oeil, which literally means to trick the eye. Okay, I'm going to go back down to a little bit darker brown, like we used for the land. Punch it in. I also have on a, what do you call it, a smock, a painting smock. I'm not going to show it to you, but oh my lord, it's just full of paint. I like to pounce the paint or brush it off on my own shelf. It's just faster. Okay, that's giving it some depth. No rhyme or reason. I do usually do it willy-nilly. This one I'm following a little bit of the layout of the land, following it over to the next window pane. Pick it up, pick up the paint, and then tap it back off on a dry paper towel. Or your smock. I sure hope somebody out there is trying this along with me. If you haven't discovered a hobby that you like to do, or a side hustle, whatever it may be, I hope you go out there and try something. Anything. Play the guitar a little bit. Go for a jog. Try weightlifting. I don't know. Anything you want to do. Something that lets out that energy that's pent up and angst up all day from sitting at a desk 8 to 5 or whatever it is you do. Let that energy out. As you can hear my dog back there. We have a dog that we're training. He is named Huckleberry and he is wild as a March hare. He's a good boy, though. He really, truly is. Okay. So I'm going to come back in with my same pounce brush. Just tap some of the dry off, or some of the excess paint off into a dry paper towel. And I'm going to pick up a little bit lighter brown. And we're going to go in and finish the beach off with this. And then we'll move on to the water. This can add interest as far as landscaping. It could be whatever you want it to be. You can add a little green to it and it can end up being bushes. apologize about the barking. We have some cattle that we just moved up to the front pasture this morning, in fact, to eat it down for a little bit. We have wild turkeys, or 3 of them, and their pen was getting a little bit overrun, and I was supposed to mow it yesterday when I mowed the yard, and I just thought, well, hell, why don't we just let the cows do it? So they were very happy to oblige. So that's what he's barking at anyway. He's a good cattle dog. Okay. So we're going to let that dry and come back to it in a moment. Alright, that's dried pretty well. We're going to come back and go to our water line, which is right here. And I've actually double loaded my brush. I did blue on one side, white on the other. And I'm just going to make a ocean line, just reinstate where that was on the back side. Load my brush again. Carry it on through. That's the water line, or maybe even the horizon line. It's your center focal point of the picture is what I like to say. And like I said, I like to keep it off center. I know that makes no sense, but remember talking about doing it in thirds? Alright, I'm going to bring that paint down a little bit. Drag it down. Leave some from the back showing through just for interest. I think this is going to turn out pretty good. Alright. Later on we'll add a couple of waves. Maybe to be stormy. Alright. Get this middle one here. Okay, that's pretty good. Let me blend this in a little bit now that I step back and look at it. Hold on just a sec, and then we'll move on. Okay, I like that. Much better. Okay, now we're going to move to the shoreline, and we're going to take the same paint, the white and the blue, mix it, and we're going to turn our brush sideways and make the water as it's lapping onto the beach. So you're going to turn your brush sideways and just pick it up, take it down, just like we did when you wiggled your brush, drop and wiggle. You're just going to drop it and wiggle, like in a fan motion, and get those waves to touch the shore. Pick up a little bit more, double load your brush. And there we go. Skip it around a little bit. Sometimes there's more water, sometimes there's not. One of these days I might have to get over that fear and actually visit the ocean. I don't know, man. That makes me anxious just thinking about it. Okay. We're going to come down to the brown part. Do one more row of some waves crashing here and there. Make it inner shore a little bit more. So, speaking of water, okay, so September is coming up, and that is me and my husband's, I call him Babe, that's me and Babe's camping season. And I'm so excited. I'm so ready for this. In fact, he has a YouTube channel called One Too Many Outdoors that records all of our camping videos and shows what we do. We have a homemade built trailer and or camper, and I really appreciate his channel, and he does a good job. He does a really good job with it. It's out of his comfort zone, I'll give him that, but he's aced it. Okay, we're gonna build these up. Couple places. Just touch, drag and drop, wiggle it. Alright, blend it out a little. Okay. And then we're going to put some waves vertical. You just draw little lines with it, wispies. Pick up some paint, draw them in. And then we can add some highlights to the crest of the wave here in a little bit. We're just putting in the backdrop of the wave. Easy enough. Blend out some of the other ones. Absolutely no rhyme or reason to it. It's wild, just like the real ocean, isn't it? Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to let that dry all the way. because I don't want to smudge it, I guess. I want to go ahead and let it dry. I don't want to blend it too much. I want it to have the deviations between the collars. Okay, so we're going to pop in and do this sunset with the orange, yellows, and reds on the front of the screen. And I already made a placeholder for it, as you can see. Sorry, I'm just trying to squeeze a little bit of paint out. Okay, red, orange, and yellow. I like the vibrant yellow. Yellow ochre is what I use to do some of the beach down there, but I like the vibrant ochre, vibrant yellow for the sunsets, because it seems like you can manipulate it a little bit easier. It's not as dark. So if you wanted to build up the layers, you could. Just like makeup foundation, once you go dark, like you need to start light and go build down from there. All right. So I just double loaded my brush, my usual go-to, red on one side, yellow or orange on the other. And lay it down in the shape of a circle. Double load again. Keep the red on the outside. Alright, and then we're going to fill it in. I don't worry so much about the Sharpie paint pen, however you want, whatever you use, because after you go over it enough on the placeholder, it'll actually diminish itself after a couple of layers. If you really get that concerned about it, you can go ahead and wipe it off with your fingers, or you can just use Windex on a paper towel. I hate to do that. Like I said, the glass shows a lot of streaks. So, but if you want to, you can just, I just want to show you it is really forgiving. Kind of like Play-Doh. I mean, you can just play around with it for a little bit and see how you like to manipulate it. Once you get a couple projects under your belt, you'll figure out what you like and don't like. All right, so I'm gonna go around that edge and start blending it out a little bit vertically. Okay, good blending. Not so streaky. Bring it on up to the top. Alright, now I'm going to come in with some of that yellow, and if you have a source of light, which in the picture is the sun, you want to make sure that it follows the theme the whole way through. So if I put it in the top right corner, the sun's going to shine down. I want to make sure that throughout the whole picture, the top of the crest of the waves is going to be touched by sunlight. The tops of the bushes, the tops of the palm fronds are going to be coming from the right side or the east side. So that's where I'm going to put my highlights. That's where we're going to bring them in from. Start on one side, pop it over, bring it in. All right. You could always build up the color. Cool. Okay. Bring in some more yellow. Let it cloud on down. Get it good and saturated in there. So it's going to soak it up. I like that a lot. Bring it all the way through. It almost has a, well, I'm hoping it has a three-dimensional effect by the time I get done with it. Alright, I'm going to carry some red and orange over from the sunset to the other window panes just for unity. Most of it's going to be hidden probably by a couple of palm fronds anyway. I know this one will. We're going to cover it up. Alright, I'm happy with that. I got our source of light coming in. Alright, that is still a little bit tacky. We're going to let that dry. A little longer. We are going to take a piece of tissue, toilet paper, and rip it in half. Bunch it up really good. Bunch the other one up not as tight. Okay, we're going to make a wave, and I just go into plain white paint on both sides. And let's say that one's right here, that crust, like it splashes up. Okay, so we're going to start from the bottom, drag our brush into an angle, a couple of wispies. All right, then I'm going to take the very crunched up toilet paper, dip it in white, pounce it off, and put it at the top of that wave. And it's just going to make a little natural looking spray. Okay. Bring it on down. Okay. We're going to do another one. Let's say a little bit further down. Bring it up to an angle. We're going to split it with this window pane. And then dip it into the paint. Tap off the excess. Put that on the top of the wave like a little bit of spray. Okay, that's looking good. A few more waves to go. I'm going to go over that one a little bit more. Start one over here. Alright, make one up here. Here. Dab it on. That is coming together. A few little misty waves there on the beach shoreline. Alright, I'm going to go down a little bit further and just continue to make a few wispy waves. With a bit of a spray touching the land. You can leave that shoreline open because we're actually going to do a little bit of deep shading in the back. Right now we're just concentrating on the waves in through the water line into the actual ocean. So we're going to come up here, horizontal lines once again, drag and drop just so subtly. We're just going to make a few lines. You can even make the water dance on it if you want. Few waves. It's coming together. All right. There is 1.5 million different waves of painting waves on YouTube in real life. I mean, anything. There's just 1 million different ways to do it. This is how I'd like to do it. It usually turns out pretty good. I like choppy water. I like a lot of interest in my pictures. I don't like chopping water in real life. We've been out on a couple of fishing trips that have gotten pretty hairy, and we've had a couple of different boats. We've had a John boat. We've had a big 40-footer boat. We've had a flat bottom V boat, one for duck hunting. And that choppy water ain't nothing to play around. I mean, so I only paint choppy water. If there's real choppy water, I'm gonna get out of there. I've learned my lesson. Okay, this is now pretty dry. I'm gonna go ahead and try and paint the shoreline. So we're going to take our water, just like we did, our brush, just like we did for the waves. And we're going to do the same thing up here. Exact same thing. Now remember, those go more vertically than horizontally because they're touching the shore. You're just going to run them through. Blend them in with the ones that you already painted. And they're going to be a little bit more white because they're actually touching up on the shore and splashing. It should make a little noise whenever you push it down pretty good. You hear that? There you go. All right, then you're going to dip your brush, still loaded, in a little bit of water, and we're just going to drag slightly drag that water, and blend it out a little bit. And give a little bit of spray, blend it out. When it dries, it's going to make a really good, pretty effect. I also do that if I wanted to paint like sun rays. Okay. Almost done with this part. All right, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to go through and do a little bit more touch up here on the edges to blend it. All right, good enough. Now, we're going to take a minute to load greens on our plate. And we're going to start working on the land and the brush. And maybe even a little fence. So we're going to take the dark greens first, going from the background to the foreground. Dark green darkest in the back, and then work our way up to light green. So I'm going to use the hunter green or the royal green. And we're going to take our stipple brush, the Pouncy brush again. We're going to dip it in the dark. Dip it back on the paper towel to get the excess off. We're going to come in and just start stippling. Just make a little bit of land. I'll just start showing that pretty good. There we go. There's no exact science to it. That is for sure. Let some green pop on it. Let the brown soak through. There you go. I love my little stipple brushes. They make it go so much faster. That's just to put a little bit of land up there, and then here in a little bit we'll add some wild grasses too. And we're going to make it go across the shoreline too. Just here and there. I like it. Cool. Okay, step back and make sure it looks pretty good. And I'm seeing a couple of sparse areas, so I'm going to fill those in pretty good. Right here on the edges. We're going to really push that green paint on in there. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to stop here in a little bit and run to town and go pick up a grocery order. And if you're like me, I hate going shopping. I just hate it. And I was talking to my husband about that the other day, and he said, you know, you need to change your whole perspective on that. And I said, what do you mean? Because he ain't the one that goes grocery shopping, I do. And he said, you need to say that you're grateful that you get to go grocery shopping. Groceries are so high right now. Everything is so high. Change your mindset to being grateful that you can go groceries. You can drive a nice truck, down a nice dirt road, go into town. We live out in the country, don't live right in the city, so that's a nice bit of a drive. I mean, he's right though. We do need to start being grateful for things instead of hateful. It does help a little bit. So, I ain't there yet. I still don't like going grocery shopping. Okay, I have picked up a lighter green, and I'm going right over that dark green that's wet, and I'm going to brush in a couple of highlights. A little bit of lighter grass. Okay, now we're going to go back to keep in mind that our sun is coming from this direction, so we need to remember when we get done and get ready to go the whole highlights that they touch the tops of that. the leaves from coming from that direction. Okay. I am going to start on some palm fronds. All this dries, because if I start to put grass over that, it's going to end up being muddy, and I don't want that. Okay, so we're going to take our fan brush, which looks like a little palm fronds anyway, and we're going to dip it straight in the green and fan it out as best you can. I like to just brush it on the palette, get it good and inky. I'm just doing a couple of placeholders. So we know we're going to need one here. We know they're very subtle. We know we're going to need one. Let's see. Draw them out. Let's make them go ahead and come all the way down. Okay. Have one from the top coming down onto this window pane, and then maybe one right here. Okay, they're very subtle, but I think you can see. I think you can see a couple. I'm only going to have palms on that one side. All right, so we're going to continue with the darkest to the lightest. So I'm actually going to grab some black. Start filling those in a little bit. Okay. So 1, continued, 2, 3, and that one remembers to cover up that spray paint boo-boo. And this palm fronds, this is one giant tree. He's gonna take up half the screens here. All right, let's get started. So we're gonna use our fan brush to create this. And if the palm tree is swaying in the wind and it's gonna lay the leaves down, the leaves are gonna fall this way. So we're gonna start fan brushing them out. Just quick, small, even strokes. And when you get to the edge, shorten them up a little bit. So that's the end of the leaves. So they'd be longer back here, shortened up, and then when you touch down at the end, light, easy strokes. Okay. And right now you're like, Holly, that just looks like shadows. It looks like blobs. It will. Trust the process. Going to cover that up nicely. Ooh. I wonder what that was from. That I don't know. That little mark was from. Okay. So we're going to let the backdrop dry. Right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, what is wrong with this picture? Remember I said we like to do in groups of 5s, 3s, 5s, and 7s? I've got 4 palm leaves and it looks off kilter. So we're going to make one more that's going to pop up and cross over. That's going to be our 5th one. For some reason, things in odd numbers always look a little bit better. Okay. That one's going to cross over that one. I like it. Okay. Okay, we're going to come in with the exact same paint we used on our palm fronds. That's drying. And we are going to start our grasses. So the same motion. Just start with dark. We're going to build up. Get your brush good and saturated. And just do quick strokes. Popping up. And it'll make little fans and little tufts of grass on that for you. Don't worry about the big picture, don't worry about the tiny little sparse parts, because we'll go ahead and pull some single blades of grass out for detail at the very end. So just go ahead and cover it. Make a pretty good coverage of those grasses popping up. bring them up pretty high. Maybe there's some here. Off shooting out of the water. And the reason why we do dark is just to add depth to the picture. Just like we have highlights that brings attention, your eyes to the attention to the tops. The dark just adds a little bit of depth. You wouldn't think so much work goes into a little painting like that, would you? But it's the little details that matter. It really is. And I'm not a detail-oriented person, to be honest with you. I've told you that before. I'm really not. But I do notice if I fudge through them, it really does make the painting not come out as good. I really think if you're going to commit to it, do it. On the flowers, it's easier to get away with without the details because the technique itself looks like you do so much work and that's intricate. But on this, you really do need to kind of make an effort to put them in. It pays off in the end. It really does. That's looking really good, like a beachy scene. Okay, now that we've got the dark, let me go ahead and get some lighter green, a little bit lighter, and we're going to build up. We still have 2 more levels of greens to go through. We're about to wrap this up, you guys. Okay, I didn't even get the brown off my brush. I just left it on, dipped it in the green, got it good and saturated again. Start putting that in on the shoreline. It'll come together. There you go. All right, I'm going to go to the next green, a little bit lighter. It'll really start popping now. And see the deviations? Really like that. Bring it on through. As you're going to fall over into the wind. The wind's blowing this way. We're going to continue that in our theme. It's all coming from the, I guess that'd be the west. All right. Okay, and the very lightest green, we're going to come in and touch that up, pop that off. The very lightest green, and add a touch of white. Okay. Okay. Keep in mind our light source. So just place it down. Look at that. Okay. Light source again. They're not all going to be that color because the light may not touch everywhere. In fact, a very few will be over here on this one. We're going to predominantly put those right here. Okay. All right. Finish those out. And then here in a bit, we'll come in and do very specific blades of grass. Okay. Let's get started on finishing out our palm fronds. Take some green and just start back building just like we did. Leave a little bit of spaces in between. Remember we talked about negative space and positive space, that they're both equally just as important. What I mean by that is, have you ever had, let's say you're doing the spaces in between here. So you want a little bit of something from the back to pop through, because if it's just one long continuous fronds, it looks like it just doesn't look natural. Here's a good example. So this is a back building base. I did not do it sparsely here. It's just a solid block, and it just looks like there's nothing in between. There's no transparency. This part has a little bit of transparency, and it's got way more interest, and it looks more realistic. So be very conscientious of the placement where you leave a little bit of space in between. And it looks like I'm just rush jobbing it. I've done a million of these paintings. It'll take you a little bit to get comfortable to get to this point. Alright. So those all fly down. Okay. We still gotta keep in mind the trunk of the tree is going to come down. In fact, while this is drying, whoops, I think I'm going to go ahead and make that. I'm going to make the trunk of the tree. So I'm just going to go in chocolate brown and pretend I've seen a palm tree in real life and draw it in there. So let's say it comes down here and the whole trunk starts here. There we go. All right. Color block that in. Line it up. Okay. Pretty happy with that. Looks good. Okay, that's going to be darkest because it's in the foreground. It's in the very front part that you'll see. Alright, let's go ahead, do a little bit more work on our palms. Start bringing in some highlights. Follow that line of the sun. We know that they're going to hit right here. Touch down them. Alright. A little bit in here. Okay, that looks good. Now we're going to go in and get our script liner, make it really good and inky, dip it in the green, and this is where we start putting the absolute detail on. We're going to add the leaves, the vines, the grasses, the intricate palm fronds, and it'll start, coming to life here in a moment. So we're going to get really good inky paint, really watery, just dripping off of there. Alright, let's start here. Just pull blades of grass out. Willy-nilly. There we go. Wisps up in here. These need to be a little bit larger because they're in the front. There's no wrong way to do it. Okay, your wind's blowing from that direction. Keep that in mind. So we're going to put all of ours pointed this way. Okay, let's take a step back. It's starting to look good. Blend this in together. Let's carry some of them up into the waves. Alright, we'll go back over on this side. And some right over that tree. Maybe there's a hurricane. Hurricane Holly's a coming. That is one nickname my husband has given me over the years. As I've also got Holly Smash. I do tend to be heavy-handed. I'm surprised these glass windows have lasted so long. Okay, we're going to take that same concept and we're going to just start doing drag and drop on the palm fronds and just getting a little bit more of a detailed stroke in there. They get a little wild on the ends. I really like doing palm trees for the simple fact that you can be wild. They're not perfect. I like doing clouds I have a secret weapon on clouds, which is, I'll tell you now, spray paint. I do a lot of my cloud pictures with spray paint. I use an airbrush sometimes. Okay, we're going to come in with a couple of paints for some highlights. Alright. Okay, so the sunset's here. We're going to bring some points of interest with some lighter grass. The sunlight's kissing a little bit. Alright. Let me go get a little bit of white, touch down, and put the final highlights on those. Whenever I get done with it, I'm gonna, everywhere that these whites are at, I'm gonna stand up and put a bright yellow on top of that. The white's just a base to make it pop a bit. These are contrasted because they are out of the direct line of the sun hitting it, so we're gonna darken those a little. We're waiting on that to dry. Okay. The grasses are just about done. Alright, what I'm doing is making up a little bit of yellow to go over those white ones that I did, just to make them pop a bit more, like the sun's kissed them. Bring those through. Like that. Carry them on over a little bit. Okay, put a few highlights on the palms. Not many. Maybe a few of them have touched over here. Okay. All right. I'm going to grab my fan brush and fill in a few sparses areas just to add interest to the picture. Get that negative space filled in a little bit. I won't highlight those or do any shading with them or anything. They're just filler. Just to fill in the negative space, to look like you've done a little bit more work than you actually have. Oh, I may have made a boo there. Okay. What fits it? No big deal. Alright guys, thank you for spending this hour with me. I know this is a little bit longer painting. I'm used to the 20-minute ones. Not quite an hour, but I really wanted to do this one well. I really appreciate her patronage. Jennifer, I definitely hope you and Jeffrey have many more years to happiness and marriage like me and Babe do. And I'm going to sign my work and call it good. And I hope you guys come back for another video. And even more than that, I really hope you try and do one on your own. Bye-bye.